Okay. 1960s.
Right.
You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Okay. You guys sound like you're going into battle.
This is an era we don't talk about very much on the show.
The 33rd Academy Awards took place on April 17th, 1961. I think this was pre-Nielsen, so we have no idea how many people tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hosted by Bob Hope. Best Picture went to The Apartment, and that beat out Elmer Gantry, Sons and Lovers, The Alamo, and The Sundowners. For me, the big American film that's missing from that is Psycho, even though it was represented as Best Director, but shockingly not Best Actor. And I'm telling you, of all the missed actor nominations over the years, this is the one I am absolutely sorest over.
It just makes you crazy. It makes you crazy that Psycho isn't up for, I mean, the only nominations it got were Director, Supporting Actress for Janet Leigh, Black and White Cinematography, and Black and White Art Direction, which it deserved all of those. But the fact that it doesn't get in there for score, for Best Actor, for Best Picture, for for even the screenplay and film editing, I mean, like it's just nuts that it's not in there.
I truly believe that's one of the most astonishing performances of all time. And I think that people miss it because it's so ingrained in the culture, and everyone thinks, I know Psycho intimately, but take a fresh look at that lead performance and look for all the subtleties within it. I mean, it's beautifully done, that performance.
Yeah. Let me see. So what would you take out then? Would you take out the Alamo? I would take out the Alamo and put Psycho in there.
For sure, the Alamo.
The other movies are superb. I think Elmer Gantry is just, I mean, and the Sundowners I love a lot too. So
and Sons and Lovers, even though I haven't seen it in a long time, is actually pretty good too. But I mean, it was an interesting year. We had, Spartacus. Peeping Tom.
Never on Sunday. You had.
Never on Sunday. It was a real good year for horror because not only with Psycho, but you also had Jigoku from Japan, Eyes Without a Face from France. You had Midnight Lace with Doris Day, and Village of the Damned from Hammer, and Little Shop of Horrors from Roger Corman. So it was actually a really good year for horror. But I mean. It's Psycho.
You had Billy Wilder, though. See, we can't complain about. I don't think we could. The winner, you can't. The Apartment's one of the great movies. I mean, you can't complain about that. But I would have taken out the Alamo. I thought the Alamo was when it was. Both versions of the Alamo suck.
It's too bad too. You'd think it would be an interesting thing, but I tried to watch that John Wayne Alamo. Which it is directed by John Wayne, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, and I was like, God, I can't get through this thing.
That was also the year
of,
speaking of something maybe similar to the Alamo, that was also the year of the Magnificent Seven, wasn't it?
Yeah, Magnificent Seven. Inherit the Wind. That's another one that I like.
Yeah, that's another one.
Lots of. I mean, all throughout the '60s. The '60s was the best decade for non-English language movies. So, on top of all these movies that we mentioned, things like The Virgin Spring from Bergman, or Purple Noon from Rene Clement, or Bad Sleep Well.
Shoot the Pianist.
Shoot the Pianist. Breathless even. And even Ozu's Late Autumn. So just an amazing year for foreign non-English product. But nothing could beat Psycho. Nothing should have.
That's right. Bitch. Okay. 34th Annual Academy Awards took place on April 9th, 1962, again hosted by Bob Hope. Best Picture, listen to this. The duration of the ceremony that night was 2 hours and 10 minutes.
See, it could be done. And they had more awards to give out back then too, because they were doing black and white art direction and color and all that stuff. So they had a lot more awards to give out.
Best Motion Picture went to West Side Story. It beat Fanny. I've beaten Fanny many times.
Well, yeah, we all have.
Judgment at Nuremberg.
Yeah,
couldn't get by without saying that. The Hustler, the Guns of Navarone.
I mean, these are all. I mean, God, the
I've
Guns
never
of
seen.
Navarone.
Fanny is the only one. It was one of the few Best Picture nominees that I've never seen, so I can't even comment on that.
Look what's not nominated, like Breakfast at Tiffany's or The Children's Hour. I mean, it's amazing what's not nominated. And this also shows the quality of movies, though, that was out at this time is just astounding.
I know. I mean, you got
Dulce Vita. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you got. 1, 2, 3 from Billy Wilder, which I think is better than The Apartment, actually, or at least it's funnier. Splendor in the Grass from Elia Kazan, Raised in the Sun, The Misfits.
The Misfits is wonderful, but I mean, how do you choose when you have this? I mean. This quality, I mean, this is unheard of in the time that we've been alive. I mean, this is just unheard of that you would have this level of quality.
I know, and then from all around the world too. I mean, things like we've got The Innocents from the UK, which would be my second favorite. I think that this is a year, by the way, that they gave the Best Picture to the right movie. I think that West Side Story is like an unassailable movie. I mean, as much as I love The Innocents and and Through a Glass Darkly from Bergman and Yojimbo and The Hustler and Judgment in Nuremberg, all of those are some of my favorite movies of the year. But West Side Story is just like, especially if you see it on the big screen, you really, really get taken in by that film, and I can totally understand why that film swept the awards as it did. But still, I mean, all these movies from all around the world, like La Notte and The End of Summer and Yojimbo and even things like Curse of the Werewolf or The Pit and the Pendulum or things like lesser horror movies, Night Tide and things like that. Even 101 Dalmatians, all these movies are amazing,
The 35th Annual Academy Awards, that took place on April 8th, 1963. This time it was hosted by Frank Sinatra, who got up to the podium. Who got up to the podium and said, "This tone's about some cat whose chick just split." All right. I'm sure he did the entire show in lingo, in Rat Pack lingo.
That sort of ring-a-ding-ding thing sort of thing going on.
Yeah, with a scotch in his hand.
Yeah,
that's so great.
But it's the next year this year is just so incredible. I mean, obviously Lawrence, but look what it's up against, and look at the actor. The actor nominations are just out of this fucking world.
We'll look at that. Lawrence of Arabia.
Not Lawrence of the Labia. That's a whole other movie. Not Lawrence of the Labia.
I can't believe I said that. Genuinely, I said that.
Lawrence
of Arabia won against The Longest Day, The Music Man, Mutiny on the Bounty, and To Kill a Mockingbird. I
could take out that Mutiny on the Bounty very easily.
Yeah, that's
Days of Wine and Roses I could replace, or I'd be even Birdman of Alcatraz. I would even be more daring. The Manchurian Candidate I would put.
Manchurian Candidate, or Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, or Ride the High Country.
Or what about even more than one? What would you put Last Year at Marymount there? Even though it's a foreign film, I would be tempted to put that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the level of foreign product in this year, like all years in the '60s, is just unbelievable. I mean, just that's the thing about the
one
60s.
of my favorite movies. One of my favorite movies that year was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which was nominated for a couple of things, but I've always loved that movie.
Yeah,
but looking
that's a great
at
movie.
Best Supporting Actor, Telly Savalas was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Who Loves You, Baby?
Yes.
That year.
Yes. Yeah, one of his two. I think he got 2 nominations over his career for supporting her. But
not forget Terrence Stamp for Billy Budd. That's a great role.
Oh yeah. In what film?
Billy Budd.
Billy Budd. Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's great in that. I think that Omar Sharif should have taken supporting actor for Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, I really think. Actually, I think Lawrence of Arabia should. I mean, deservedly, swept the awards. And,
let's give it to. He was good. When Omar Sharif was very good, and especially when he worked for Lee. But let's be very honest. Nobody's had quite an entrance in a movie like Omar Sharif. That's one of the most incredible entrances in motion picture history. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there's that, and then there's Orson Welles in The Third Man.
Those are
two of the greats. That's so true. But yeah, I mean, like I would have thrown out. I think I would have had to have put in Ride to High Country over anything else. Throwing out Mutiny on the Bounty.
You didn't have to throw that out. But that's there for a reason, though. You have to thank our lucky stars that Marlon Brando was busy shooting that, so he could not be in Lawrence. Because if he was in Lawrence, it would have been a totally different movie. And we have to thank that Albert Finney was too short to play Lawrence, and that he couldn't do it. But I thank my lucky stars that, we want you to be in Mutiny on the Bounty. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
He's been busy.
I'm going to also eat everything there. Yes.
Other great movies that year. Just to remind you. I'll start with the American ones and then I'll go on with the other ones. David and Lisa.
That is a great one.
Lolita. Advise and Consent. Long Day's Journey into Night, the Sidney Lumet movie. Carnival of Souls. Dr. No. Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
That's a great movie. That's so good.
The original Cape Fear. Merrill's Marauders. Lonely Are the Brave. And Days of White and Roses, as you mentioned. But as far as foreign stuff, Exterminating Angel from Louis Buñuel, Knife in the Water from Polanski, Jules and Jim from Truffaut, Leah Cliff from Antonioni, that great Harakiri. I
love that movie.
That is so amazing. I finally watched that for the first time last year, and I was just blown away by it. And Ivan's Childhood from Tarkovsky. So lots of great stuff, but what could beat Lawrence of Arabia?
Yeah.
Right.
No way.
And, I think my lucky stars that they cast Lawrence of Arabia as they did, because if they didn't, we wouldn't have Michael Fassbender in Prometheus. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't. We would if they did not. Let's put it like this: if Lawrence of Arabia was not the way it was, we might not be doing this show.
Prometheus is the true benefactor of Lawrence of Arabia's legacy, I think.
Let me put it to you like this. We wouldn't be doing this show. I was trying to explain to my mom today. We wouldn't be doing this show. We wouldn't be talking about movies if Stanley Kubrick had never been born. I really do believe that more. I don't think we would. I think he really, between Kubrick, I was just trying to explain to her that everything you watch today has something of Kubrick in it. Any major movie that you see is going to have something from Kubrick in it. You wouldn't have. I don't think we wouldn't be. I doubt we'd be doing this show right now. I really believe that. Or I wouldn't be doing this show, let's put it like that.
I don't think that I would be interested in movies had I not been exposed to Kubrick movies. when
I didn't like Kubrick when I started the show, so I could very well see myself doing the show because I did the show.
But I don't think it would be a different landscape. It would be such a different landscape.
Best Picture, 36th Annual Academy Awards. This one took place on April 13th, 1964. Jack Lemmon hosted. Best Picture went to Tom Jones up against Kazan's America. Cleopatra. Cleopatra. That's how they say it today in the United States. I'm going to say that America. You know, if they released America today and promoted it as like a Red State movie, I guarantee, like something that Dino DeSalvo would direct or whatever his name is, people go see it. Okay. Cleopatra, How the West Was Won, and Lilies of the Field.
What a blah.
Yeah, you
movies,
couldn't
by
put
the way.
8.5. You couldn't put 8.5, or you couldn't put. Why wasn't HUD? I would put HUD. I would have think HUD would have gotten.
Those were the two best movies of a kind of a blah year, actually. Like just all around. But yeah, I mean 8.5. Like why wouldn't you? It
Knife in the Water.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Knife in the Water, but HUD. Also, I mean, look at HUD. HUD should have been up for because didn't it get a Best Director nomination as well?
Yeah, that's why it should.
So
you also have It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, which I know comedies never, but that was quite a comedy though at the time. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you know, you also had, you know, as far as American movies go, you had things like The Birds and Shot Corridor and Robert Wise's movie The Haunting, and the big year for British movies. Lots of great British movies this year. Things like
This Sporting Life,
Billy Liar, and Lord of the Flies, and The Servant, and From Russia with Love, and This Sporting Life, and even The Pink Panther, you know.
And you had The Great Escape. You also had 55 Days at Peking. Let's not forget that. I mean,
I've never seen that. Is that good?
No, it's okay. But if you have How the West Was Won and Cleopatra up here, you can certainly put in 55 Days at Peking.
You know, I like Cleopatra a lot. That would have been like. Okay, so what ended up winning? What ends up winning?
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones, which is a movie I can't stand. I can't watch it. Absolutely terrible. Can't watch it.
You know what's amazing to me though is that 8.5 and HUD got multiple nominations in other categories, including both of them for director. Well, so why couldn't they put him in the picture?
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't. And what's really crazy is HUD gets 3 acting nominations and all the technical nominations it gets too. Even one for cinematography, I think, and ended up winning for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor. So I just don't understand why HUD's not up there, because out of the American stuff, that's easily my favorite movie of that year. I still find it.
You know who?
Maybe
you
Paul
know who
Newman's
announced?
best performance. You know.
Oh, HUD. I thought you said Head. HUD. Okay. I was like, the Monkees movie #1. You really? But Best Picture was actually presented by Frank Sinatra that year, who hosted the year previously. But I wonder if he thought Tom Jones was actually the singer and he was at the Grammys. Like maybe he got confused.
He might have.
Where's he at? I hear this guy gets a lot of tail.
A lot of tail. That's such a great antiquated phrase. Oh, God. Okay. The 37th Annual Academy Awards were announced on April 5th. I'm sorry, I got to take a moment. April 5th, 1965. It was hosted by Bob Hope. The winner that year was My Fair Lady, and that was up against Beckett and, oh my God, Dr. Strangelove, Mary Poppins, and Zorba the Greek. Look, out of these 5, anyone that doesn't think it belongs to Dr. Strangelove is high.
Yes.
Dr. Strangelove, I mean...
Yeah, easily.
And I might take out My Fair Lady and put in 7 Days in May. Or I would actually even be inclined to put in, I like this movie a lot, Night of the Iguana. I would put that maybe in there. I like that. I mean, I like Beckett, but no, it belongs to Dr. Strangelove. It belongs to Dr. Strangelove. I mean, just, God.
Yeah, I mean,
also
he should have
the year-
won
that
Best
was also the
Picture,
year
Best
of A Hard
Director,
Day's-
Best Actor,
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor, Best Screenplay. It should have won all of those things, really.
And all of those awards
yeah, I mean,
would
it
have gone to
really
Peter
should have
Sellers.
swept.
So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, the art direction, the editing, I mean, all that stuff should have gone to Strangelove. So it just seems ridiculous now that I mean, have you tried to watch My Fair Lady recently? Not watchable.
I tried to fuck My Fair Lady, but no,
not watchable. Sorry.
No, it's not. And, even Zorba the Greek, I have to say, doesn't always. I love Anthony Quinn and everything, but not one of my,
Yeah, I agree. Another great year for British movies. I mean,
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger, I think, should have maybe been in the Best Picture race, or maybe Hard Day's Night, since it was such a, why wouldn't that make it in there? But they probably didn't want to, of course they didn't like rock and roll or whatever, so all those old people. So, but, things like, God, it's such an amazing year for
the Americanization
stuff.
of Emily. The Americanization of Emily and the unthinkable Molly Brown, too. I mean, you got a lot.
Or Failsafe, or 7 Days in May, or Seance on a Wet Afternoon, or The Train, or The Pawnbroker, or Shot in the Dark, The Killers.
Shot in the Dark, yeah.
The Killers, the great Don Siegel remake.
Yeah.
And then all these amazing, foreign movies, like, Gospel According to St. Matthew, or Umbrellas of Cherbourg, or I Am Cuba.
And The Woman in the Dunes, which was nominated, did not win, one of the great movies, but also, The Gospel According to St. Matthew may be the single greatest, how should I say it? I do think The Gospel According to St. Matthew is the greatest cinematic version, maybe even more so than The Last Temptation of Christ. Maybe. I'm not
They're right neck and neck. And of course, the next year, Gospel According to St. Matthew did get some nominations when it was finally released in America in '65. But it's really technically a '64 movie. But yeah, I mean, it's all immaterial because Dr. Strangelove should have won, and
Yeah. Best Picture 1965. The awards were announced April 18th, 1966. Bob Hope hosted. Best Picture was announced by, let me see, this is interesting, by Jack Lemmon. He announced that the winner was The Sound of Music against the other nominees, including Dr. Zhivago, Darling, 1,000 Clowns, and Ship of Fools.
What a year for Julie Christie.
Yeah,
amazing
year.
I don't know. I like The Sound of Music, but I would be in my old. I'd give it to Zhivago or Darling before I give it to The Sound of Music. If you want to know the truth.
Yeah, I really am not high on. I guess out of all the Best Picture nominees, I guess I like Dr. Zhivago the best, but. Even so, I mean, like it.
But there's more that we like that year: The Flight of the Phoenix, The Spy Who Came In from the Cold, The Collector. I mean, and I'm a little confused, Dean. Help me out here, because they have in the director category, the director of The Woman in the Dunes, and that was nominated for foreign film the year before. How does that work?
Isn't that weird? That's a kind of a weird thing that used to happen, and it's because there were different rules for the foreign films as opposed to the. I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's just an odd anomaly where sometimes a foreign film would be nominated for best foreign language film in one year, and then the next year it'll get some other nominations. The last time that really happened was probably with City of God, because City of God.
That's right.
If you remember, that was nominated for best foreign language film in like 2000 or whatever, but it wasn't. then in 2001 it was nominated for a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't know exactly why that happens.
That was also the year The Pawnbroker, which got nominated justifiably for actor. And Repulsion, Polanski's Repulsion. And
that would be my choice for Best Picture of that year. Would be
Repulsion. And also, the foreign category is just, Shop on Main Street, which is just an incredible movie, won, and justifiably so. But, that's like you said, the 60s were really quite a year for foreign films. No doubt.
If you think about it, think of what's coming out of France. You got Alphaville. You've got Pierre Le Fou, two Godard movies. You've got Loves of a Blonde from Czechoslovakia, Milos Forman, and also Intimate Lightning from Ivan Passer, also from Czechoslovakia.
Right.
And then the Roundup, Miklos Jansko, and even things like Tokyo Olympiad and stuff like that. So, but American movie-wise, we had also The Hill, great Sidney Lumet movie.
That's an awesome movie.
He's Sean Connery. That's his single best performance, I think. And then lots of I should also mention the British movies like The Knack and How to Get It, or the War Game, and Shakespeare Walla and things like that. But it's kind of an unusual year for American films. Like, some of the best American films were, kind of trashy, like Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, or Mickey 1, or even Ride in the Whirlwind. Kind of an unusual year. Not like a great year for movies, really.
Okay. 39th Annual Academy Awards for the 1966 film releases took place on April 10th, 1967, hosted by Bob Hope. The ceremony ran 2 hours and 31 minutes. Best Picture was announced by Audrey Hepburn. The winner that year was A Man for All Seasons, and that beat Alfie, The Russians Are Coming, The Sand Pebbles, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
I like the four others in the winner, I gotta say. I won't lie to you. I like A Man for All Seasons, but it's not one of my favorites. But if you look at the directors who were nominated, I love The Professionals, and I love Blow Up. Those would be two I might put on there. It's not, but the Sand Pebbles I like the Sand Pebbles a lot. I know a lot of people, maybe and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is just still to this day.
I remember.
That's devastating.
That's my favorite movie of the year.
Which one?
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Yeah, that's just.
But what a transformative year for foreign language films. If you put in Blow Up in there, and you also consider The Battle of Algiers, which was nominated for Best Foreign Language, but A Man and a Woman beat it. I remember talking to Friedkin one of the times we had him on the show, and he said he talked about how amazed he was by A Man and a Woman. Like, he longed to make a movie that good. First thing he said was Love Story, and then he said, no, not Love Story. Love Story's an awful movie. I mean that A Man and a Woman.
Again, another great year for foreign films, things like Persona, which would have been my second choice for the best movie of the year. Masculine Feminine, another great Godard movie. Bresson's Alcazar Balthazar. Closely Watched Trains, another great Czechoslovakian film.
That's an awesome movie. I love that movie.
Yeah. Polanski's Cul-de-sac. Peter Brooks's Marat Sade. The Pornographers from Japan. Also,
that's a good one. That's a good movie.
Yeah, Tokyo Drifter as well from Japan.
Yeah.
It was an amazing year for foreign stuff. So much so that it kind of eclipses the American stuff. But for me, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf deserved to win. And if I was going to throw one out of that group, I would probably throw out, The Russians Are Coming, and throw in Blow Up, because I just think Blow Up changed cinema, I think.
Well, wasn't this the year of Good, the Bad, the Ugly, too?
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as well, yep.
See, obviously we all love that movie. I don't see how you'd ever get Sergio Leone I don't see how that would ever have been nominated, even though they should have. No, because it's very interesting. We speak about Sergio Leone doesn't really, yes, among film lovers and everything, but it's not until really I notice the 80s and 90s that Sergio Leone gets this appreciation that he so richly deserves, because many film critics made fun of those movies. They made fun of the spaghetti westerns. A lot of films, made fun of them. They thought they were horrible films. People made fun of them. Even when El Mariachi came out, Robert Rodriguez was very keen on saying, look, Sergio Leone was one of my many influences, and many interviewers were taken aback that someone would actually own up to that. So remember, Sergio Leone doesn't get his due until after his death, really.
You're right.
But I would have put the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in there for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it actually did Good and the Bad and the Ugly. It came out in '66, but I think that it didn't actually hit American shores until '67. So it's a little weird there. But what were you going to say, Jamie?
I was just going to tell Jerry that this was also the year of Godzilla versus the Sea Monster.
Well, I would have put that in because, your big monster takes a vacation. The big G goes to the South Seas. Takes a vacation. He fights a lobster from the palm or whatever, red lobster. Come on. You got to give his name his due.
As we learned last week, that'll be on Blu-ray this month, I'm sure. That and 20 other.
Can you really tell? How is that going to be improved in high def? That's what I want to. What the hell? I'm sorry. How is that going to be improved in high def?
I don't know, dude. I want a 4K.
Also,
That's what I want.
I need to mention 3 great cult movies that came out this year. John Frankenheimer's Seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Lord Love a Duck with Roddy McDowell and Tuesday Weld, who were both great in it. And also, I love Truffaut's version of Fahrenheit 451, although I feel like I have to apologize for loving it because some people hate it.
Why? It's a good movie. Why would you have to apologize?
Some people despise it. I don't know why, but they just do. I guess because they don't like. Maybe it did something to the book that I don't.
No, not at all. No, not at all. It's a very good adaptation. I'm sure it will be much. I don't think Mel Gibson. Remember, Mel Gibson for years wanted to make that into a movie. Yeah. I don't see really how he could improve upon what Truffaut did. To be honest with you. And
plus the look of that Truffaut's version is just outstanding. It's just the colors in it. That ridiculous color cinematography by Nicholas Roeg is just
it's
amazing. And the art direction and the costume design in it and everything. It's just an amazing looking movie. But so is Seconds, by the way. It's another great looking movie. That James Wong Howe cinematography.
Our next year is one of the jaw-dropping years in Best Picture categories. And we actually had Mark Harris, the contributor at Entertainment Weekly. We had him on to talk about that book. He wrote a book about this year of Best Picture nominees. One of these is not like the other. Tell me if you guys can guess which one.
Dr. Dolittle?
This was the 40th anniversary, the 40th Academy Awards. It took place on April 10th, 1968, hosted by Bob Hope. Best Picture was announced by Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews!
Sorry. I wonder if
there we go.
Julie Andrews, like clean and wholesome Julie Andrews, and this year was populated by some incendiary titles for the time, which was interesting. In the Heat of the Night won Best Picture. It was up against Bonnie and Clyde, Dr. Dolittle, The Graduate, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So a bunch of transformative titles in this category, and then Dr. Dolittle.
I mean, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner isn't all that great either. I mean, that's right there with. It's just right ahead of Dr. Dolittle on the watchability.
But wait, do you like the Bernie Mac version better?
What the? Guess Who? That's right. Yeah, no, I never saw that, but it might be better.
So what would you put in? What would you put in then? Would you put in like Cool Hand Luke, Wait Until Dark? I might put in Two for the Road.
In Cold Blood. In Cold Blood for the American movies. If we were just looking at American movies, I would have thrown out both Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and Dr. Dolittle and put in Cold Blood and Cool Hand Luke.
I would put in Cool Hand Luke, and I would definitely put in either Wait Until Dark, or I might put in I would actually put in Two for the Road.
Maybe overall, a good one too.
Yeah, I mean, Two for the Road is just one of the greats. I mean,
and you also had Point Blank, which was also like way ahead of its time.
That's really interesting. And it's very interesting because you do have all these Transformers films, and that's definitely one of the most. I mean, the movie that would set, as you said, would set the pace for further down the line. But I mean, and an excellent.
It's amazing how you can look at these nominees and you can feel something changing in these titles. You know.
He also the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozens this year too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in retrospect, which of these five deserve Best Picture?
Oh, you know what? I would have given it to The Graduate personally.
I would give it to The Graduate,
just because it's got all of the performances. It's got the screenplay. I mean, like Bonnie and Clyde's a little weak in some places, whereas The Graduate, it's just brilliant looking all the way through. It's got numerous fascinating performances in it, and I think that was also like more of a game changer for people.
It was a game changer, but it's timeless. It's just what we all feel like Benji, I think, at certain parts of our life. I don't care who you are. I mean, it's a movie you can come back. I think it's a movie you watch at different times in your life, whether you're in your 20s, your 30s or 40s, and you think something differently. You approach it with I think a new level of appreciation, and it's just The Graduate. I've been thinking about it a lot the last couple of weeks. The Graduate's timeless.
Yeah,
I really do believe that. I really believe that.
And another thing about it too is that it's difficult to do. It's almost nearly impossible to do a movie about somebody, a male growing up at that age, and not compare it to The Graduate. Like it's just like almost any movie that comes out that deals with like Garden State or something like that.
And you know what the funny thing is?
Yeah.
You can't even those movies. And I do like Garden State, but Garden State just it fades. It fades, whereas The Graduate doesn't. I mean, that's not it's just very hard to have that staying power. The Graduate has it though.
By the way, my favorite movie of this year actually didn't come anywhere near getting nominated. I don't think it even showed in America until like the late 60s. But it'd be Jacques Tati's Playtime, which I think is one of the most extraordinary movies ever. And also a movie that works better on a big screen. Like the bigger the screen, the better, because there's a lot of jokes in it and there's a lot of feeling to it that you just lose on the small screen. But also, I loved Godard's Weekend. I loved.
I bought on videotape.
What, really, Weekend?
I love that movie. I love that movie.
It's so anti-car. I love it. And Mouchette. I love that. Robert Bresson movie called Mouchette. And Belle de Jour, the great Louis Buñuel movie.
Yeah, that was on last night or the night before. That was on Turner Classics.
Yeah. Also, Bedazzled, which is where I got that Julie Andrews thing from. Bedazzled came out that year.
That movie's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, Stanley Donen did Bedazzled and Two for the Road in the same year. Isn't that amazing? Such a unusual pair of movies there.
But that's what's so great about him. I mean, that he could do that. I mean, oh wow.
Yeah.
He used to hang out with Stanley Kubrick.
What now?
He used to hang out with Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Donen did?
Yeah. He used to hang out at Kubrick's house, and there's a story of them at the end of the night after dinner. They played some kind of game where they each threw something on the table, and they said, "I've never done this before. I've never been arrested." And anyone else in the room who had been arrested had to throw the thing on the table, and whoever was left with the most items in their hand at the end of the game won, or whatever. So they went around and they were like, "I've never been arrested. I've never slept with a prostitute, blah blah blah." And Stanley Donen apparently had slept with a prostitute, so he didn't throw in. And then it got to Kubrick, and Kubrick said, "I've never played anything like this before." And that was his. All right. 1968 films. The ceremony took place April 14th, 1969. No one hosted. Sidney Poitier announced Best Picture for Oliver, and that was up against Funny Girl, The Lion in Winter, Rachel, and Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
That's not a bad.
Oh my God.
That's not a bad lineup.
No. Before we get started, once again, just like Dr. Strangelove, everything else is moot, whatever that word is.
Yeah.
When it comes to this year's category for Best Picture, the winner should have been something that isn't even freaking nominated, which was 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with you there. I agree with you there. But of what's nominated, though, and I know of what is nominated, I would have given it to The Lion in Winter. That's just me.
Well, I think out of what was nominated, I think they gave it to the right movie, because I think
it's
Oliver is superb.
I get to Carol Reed, but I like Carol Reed. Obviously The Third Man.
Not the musical Carol Reed, but
I'm not a big fan, but I mean I understand it's important. But Jamie's right. I mean, you're looking at this and you're like, the most important movie, the best movie, isn't even in the nominations. I mean,
it's pretty ridiculous what they left out too. I mean,
the producers.
It even gets more ridiculous. Just hold on for a second. Let me just.
The Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, exactly. Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah.
Targets.
Can I ask a question about and Targets? Yeah, for sure. But let me ask you a question. Now, remember, when Once Upon a Time in the West came out originally, it was butchered.
Right.
Butchered, and so like Once Upon a Time in America, it took a while for it to really get. For the Europeans had the great version. We didn't have the great version at all. But
you also had Peter Bogdanovich's Targets, which was kind of a B movie back then.
Great movie, though.
Another amazingly, just a quintessential movie of this time period is Richard Lester's Petulia with George C. Scott and Julie Christie. That's just an unbelievable movie. But also, Rosemary's Baby, or If, or Yellow Submarine.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Isn't the Wild Bunch this year?
No,
that's next year. That's 69.
Let me ask you this: was Faces the first Cassavetes directorial? Was that his directorial debut?
I thought Shadows.
No, it's Shadows.
Shadows
from 59 is his debut there. But Faces, which did get a few nominations. But also, I mean, so many unusual cult films from this year too, like The Swimmer, or Pretty Poison, or The Party, or Danger Diabolic, or even things like I have a soft spot for The Heart is a Lonely Hunter,
and The Odd Couple.
And The Odd Couple, and Wild in the Streets, and Bullet. And I mean, how Bullet is so great. I mean, how Steve McQueen did not get an Oscar nomination for that is beyond me.
But also, you have probably what I think is one of the funniest Mel Brooks movies, The Producers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, he at least walked away with something that year, and then just
you know, in
ridiculous.
Retrospect, some of the stuff is in retrospect because now we can look at what movies from that time period changed movies forever after,
right?
And very very few changed movies as much as Night of the Living Dead. I mean, just in terms of not only the horror genre, but in terms of independent, regional filmmaking. Yeah.
But 2001 then is, as you said, 2001 is
and
the major game changer.
What's great about 2001, that was also the highest grossing movie that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty weird, isn't it? Isn't
yes.
that strange to think that 2001, it's just, it wouldn't happen today, but it's just so strange.
Don, did you hear the complaints on Twitter about 2001? Oh, my God. Nothing happens in the movie. What the hell? What? What the fuck is with the baby? And could you imagine if people have such a short attention span today? They would have walked out. What's with all these monkeys in the beginning? What the fuck? I mean, people wouldn't. It'd be really great. I'm sure someone's already done it. If Twitter had existed in in the past with some of these movies,
it would be interesting to see if people were as stupid then as they are now, and we just didn't know it.
Yes, that's a very good point.
Yeah, that would be fascinating to find that out.
He becomes a baby, he's an old man, then he becomes a baby and some bubble at the end? What the fuck? I mean, what the hell?
I think people were saying that back then, though. People were saying that. I remember my parents.
People had no idea what the movie was about. And this is, it's really interesting. Didn't they ask though Kubrick or Clark in an interview? Do you know what is the movie about? They said, I have no idea.
Yeah, but I as much as I hate to say it, and I don't know why I hate to say it, but it shouldn't be underestimated how much drug culture had to do with the success of that movie. If that movie had come out much later, it might not have done that business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's a huge thing. I mean, look at something like Altered States. I mean, that has a lot to do right there.
12 years later, and it didn't do well at all. So
I know, but I mean, a lot of people are on drugs who did see it.
And I'm hesitant to say that because I honestly don't think Kubrick made it for the drug culture. I mean,
no.
It was how it was adopted amongst the people,
Yeah.
Well, it is a great movie to get high and watch. That's for sure.
To go to the last year, so we go ahead and finish this off, gentlemen.
I mean, it was a great year for movies to get high and watch, like 2001 and Head and Yellow Submarine and Monterey Pop, and great year for that.
And The Dependables.
I don't think I want to ever watch a movie again until I watch The Dependables. So
I'm glad I can help out.
It's a great movie to overdose on cholesterol medication before you watch. 1969 films. This ceremony took place on April 7th, 1970. No one hosted. Best Picture was announced by Elizabeth Taylor, she of the big bosom. And the ceremony ran 2 hours, 25 minutes. Nielsen ratings 43.4%. I guess the Nielsens were invented about this time because that's the first indication we have of Nielsen on the Oscars. Best Picture, went to a really bold choice.
Maybe their boldest choice.
Yeah, Midnight Cowboy, which beat Anne of the Thousand Days, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Hello Dolly, and Z.
Oh yeah, Z is amazing. What an amazing movie that is. That's another really weird. Oh my God, how did that get in the Best Picture thing? But it's great that it's in there.
It's great it's there, but it's a year of just revolutionary movies. I mean, not just a Wild Bunch, but also Bob Carroll, Ted and Alice, Easy Rider. I mean, this is quite a year. I mean, I don't know how you really choose.
It is a nutty year because you got all that, then you got they shoot horses, don't they? And
that's another one. Yeah,
Medium Cool and the Honeymoon Killers and well, some people love True Grit. I actually like the old version of True Grit better than the new version. And things like, from other countries, like, The Sorrow and the Pity, or This Man Must Die, or...
That's a good one. You got My Night at Maud's, too, is another one. Let me ask you this, though. Is there... I like the Coen Brothers True Grit, but I would think that the John Wayne one is the quintessential of the two. That is really that's one of the great ones. I didn't know. I like it.
I would rather watch the old version than watch the new version.
I like the new version, but I don't think it's in the same league, to be honest. And I would not have said that.
I'll tell you, I watched them both on the same night, because when the Coens movie was released in theaters, I watched the first one, and then I went to see that one, and I didn't like either one of them.
That's an honest answer too. Look, here's something I prefer the newer version of 310 to Yuma than the older one. The older one didn't do it for me, but I actually I think that's a better answer. Yeah, neither version, neither. It's like, who cares?
Okay, so. Easily, you could throw out Hello Dolly out of this bunch, because who's going to go and watch that? And the Wild Bunch should have been thrown in there. Easily. That should have won, I think.
Well, I would have given it to that too, but although Midnight Cowboy, though,
it's hard. It's hard to pick between those two for sure.
Let me ask you this, though. Would you have thrown in maybe also They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Maybe? Or Alice's Restaurant.
Maybe.
Alice's Restaurant. Would you have thrown in that? Or
I've never been a fan of that.
I'm not a big fan. But let me forget the Wild Bunch, and I know it's a hard thing for me to do, but would you put in Easy Rider?
No, not really. That movie is very important, obviously.
Right,
for
that's why
reasons. But I don't think it's a very good film.
No, it's not a good movie, but it's an important movie. It may be an important movie for, one reason and one reason only. And that's because Rip Torn injured himself, and Jack Nicholson comes in, and that's Jack Nicholson's big, big, big break.
I would have definitely given best supporting actor to Jack Nicholson that year, though. Definitely. And I probably would have, the score... I think the score to Easy Rider is one of the big game changers of that movie.
Right.
Because almost no movie had really used rock and roll like that. That movie.
Well, I'm not particularly impressed with Easy Rider either. Watching it, but if I was alive and conscience during 1969, I would have thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But regardless of how you feel about the movie, it, more than any other movie in existence, that represented a change of culture, and that represented the lunatics taking over the asylum, and Hollywood completely having to rethink itself, which they did for about 4 or 5 years.
And I think it's important, when I always, the other movie I always think of with Easy Rider is Lost in America. Because they're always mentioning, and that was really when I saw Lost in America before I saw Easy Rider, and they're always referencing Easy Rider, and I just finally, I think I've rented it as like when it was in the early '80s. So,
and that's a good comedic conceit to do like the suburban version of Easy Rider.
That was a great thing about that movie. My second favorite movie of the year, by the way, is easily my favorite documentary of all time, which is the Mails Brothers Salesman, which I think, absolutely, if I wish that documentaries could enter into the Best Picture realm, because I definitely, like for instance, a few years ago, I would have definitely put Searching for Sugar Man in the Best Picture category. I'm wondering if that'll ever happen. I think it's a shame that they seem to be totally ghettoized.
It's very limiting because very often the Best Picture of the year is a documentary. I mean, very often. So, they need to expand that.
Yeah, or they need to think about it, a little bit more. But But yeah, I mean, for me, the 1969 is all about the Wild Bunch, and then this Midnight Cowboy coming in right underneath it for me.